Welcome back to day 3 of the 12 Days of Christmas at Excelon. And today we're going to talk about chapter 2. And if you say, Matt, you're off by 1. Exactly. I want to talk about off by 1 errors and how they happen. Pretty much exactly like they did here, where I wanted to do the first day of generally introducing the book. Some arrays, which store memory structures in memory, are based on 0. Some languages, they're based on 1. A programmer going from one language to the other can introduce problems in looping constructs where you miss the first one. Or they could say if x is greater than 5, and they mean if x is greater than equal to 5. On the condition that x is 5, you're going to have a defect. And it's a programming defect, it's common, and the requirements won't help you find it. So how do you find it? You work with the team, you look at the history of the bugs, and you figure out this is a problem. But mostly it can be prevented or found very, very early through developer unit tests, programmer test-driven development, which is going to be chapter 3. Chapter 2 is about the fundamental issues you will find when if someone has a naive, simplistic, we're going to take the user interface and we're going to write tools that explore the user interface to find problems so that human beings don't have to do it. And the simplistic way of click, 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 type, click, inspect, make sure the result is right. You're going to learn these lessons. You can learn from the book. You can learn yourself. Maybe you already know them. There might be a few nuggets in here. I'm going to talk about a couple of those right now. So let's talk about a way to think about what that is doing. And one phrase we use for that is the minefield problem. So you can imagine your features and your input as a grid. Now this is, strictly speaking, not really possible because there's an infinite number of combinations because the software is event driven. But if you visualize it as a grid, it could be a minefield. And when you're testing, you're walking through the minefield. And of course the mines are bugs, hopefully with a metal detector. It's kind of a dark metaphor. Doug Hoffman calls it the dog park, walking through the dog park trying to clean up doggy doo-doo. And we used his image with his permission. So you can imagine testing as taking a walk through the park. And now over time, new bugs are coming in. So what most tooling does is it just takes the same walk through the dog park every time. Now, as you're recording it, of course, the first time you ever make it, you're going to find a bunch of bugs in order to record the tooling. But you would find those bugs just doing testing anyway. But yes. But then it's going to run the exact same thing every time. And assuming there are no timing issues or maintenance issues or flakiness issues with the tooling, it's not going to find anything at all, ever. It's going to add no value. So it doesn't add value till it doesn't exist till it runs, and then when it runs, it doesn't add any value until you have a commit or a merge or a change to the software under test, and then it's going to find blockers in here. But then we're going to run into the second problem in the chapter, and that is, great, you found blockers. There's pretty much two extremes to write this tooling. The first one, click, 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 check, inspect, make sure the total is $75. Make sure there's some text at the bottom that it submitted your order. Make sure the shopping cart now says 0. Or screen capture everything and make sure it looks exactly the same. So then if we change the font, we change color, any new feature, you upgrade the operating system, you upgrade the browser, whatever it is, it's going to register it as a bug. So neither of these extremes is really that great. The first one, you miss a lot of defects. The second one, and at the end of every test case is this hidden assertion and nothing else strange happened I didn't expect. And the other one, which checks to make sure nothing happens I didn't expect, it's going to have too many problems. You got to go in and fix it up and maintain it. So we're trying to find ways to find the steady balance. And there are a few we mentioned in the book. Visual testing. Applitools is one company that we like, where you actually get a bunch of thumbnails, and you can say, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay, yep, 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 yep. And it can re-record those as images for next time, because you're then verifying the changes that you expected. It doesn't work if there are breaking changes. If your code tries to click a link that the language has changed and the link doesn't work anymore, it's going to get stuck, and then you still have to go change it up and rerun it. But it helps. So I'm trying to keep this tight. One thing I wanted to mention about chapter 2, there's a couple other things in chapter 2 that are worth thinking about. We talk about a simulation, a battlefield game simulation, where the computer is going to do the pre-planned route, and the human is going to be able to change as they actually find. When they play Battleship, you've got that grid, and the human hits a hit, they can test around that. So if bugs cluster, human beings tend to find them better than computers that do pre-planned walks, and give you all the tools to run that simulation in your company or with friends or with family. That's right there in the book. Another thing I wanted to mention, in the chapter, we talk about sort of faith-based software test automation, and that is, our company's never been successful at this before, and we're going to put a ton of resources in it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome, awesome, awesome. And we don't really have defined success criteria. We don't know how long it's going to take us. But we're going to pour an amazing amount of resources into this effort. We've actually been called back to companies 2, 4, 6 years later, when there's a management change after these investments. There's faith-based investments. We don't really have the evidence to know this is going to work. We don't conduct experiments to see if it's working. We're not doing trial and error. We're sort of doing this naive approach that I described earlier. And the new management team has completely forgotten about the effort. Like, they don't even remember. So that was just waste. We really want to do a more scientific approach to our improvement, which we're going to talk about in the later chapters of the book. And the phrase that we use, we get a little cute. I wrote something like, I keep my faith in the church house where it belongs. And I hope that comes through when you read it. Like, because this isn't a book about religion, but there is a religious approach to software test tooling, and we don't like it, and we try to advise against it. For everything else, bring data, right? So, last thing I would mention is that Paul Grossman, who I've come to know in the past year or so, wrote a book about, it came out a week before ours, called Enhanced Test Automation with WebDriver IO. And this book is written, our book is written so that it'll still be relevant 7-10 years from now. That's our goal for the 2020s. So there are a few code examples to give you a feel of what's going on, but we're not going to drive into any specific framework, because it'll be out of date in a year, maybe 2 if you're lucky. So Paul and his partner, writing partner, Larry Goddard, they took a stand. They said, no, we really think this one's good, and we want to tell you how to do it. We're going to show that you can write effectively so that your tests will run long term. I just bought it. I'm going to do a review of it here probably when it comes in a couple of days. I got the physical book, made the investment. Enhanced Test Automation with WebDriver IO. I'll be talking about it a little bit more, so we can balance like high level concepts in testing with very, very much detailed, here's how we do the work. And with that, I'm just under 10 minutes. I'm trying to keep these short. Hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Bye.